So I began this week's watching by actually trying to figure out some Galaxy Angel stuff. Because I showed Galaxy Angel the past couple of weeks. It's really on the brain, and I was beginning to wonder. See, there's collections of episodes and specials here and there that the DVDs and AniDB and My Anime List and Anime Planet all seem to express differently. So I was beginning to wonder whether or not I had actually seen all of them or they were all available on DVD, and in the off chance that I was wrong, I watched the one special that I was pretty sure I could have easily missed because it was buried in the extras. That one was the Galaxy Angel Z second season special, whose name I can't remember and I didn't write down on my paper. But yeah, I watched that just to make sure I've seen it, and I can mark that as a check. For everything else, I don't remember who says what, but there's a bunch of specials related to the third season, Galaxy Angel A, which the DVD's released as A and Double A, which may have been something official in Japan, I don't know, but they're still there. And I figured out those three specials. One of them I knew was Galaxy Angel S. I thought two of them were, but turns out only one of them is. And then the other two specials are actually in one's in the very end, the very last DVD of Galaxy Angel A, and the other's in the very last DVD of Galaxy Angel Double A. And then, of course, there's the Galaxy Angel Z special, which is on the very last DVD of Galaxy Angel Z, which I believe means that it's all been released. And that's a big relief. I'm glad it's a very thorough release, and I think that means that I've been able to mark all of that off as watched. Alright, that was nice and quick. I don't have much to comment about the episode itself, since it's a pretty standard Galaxy Angel episode, I guess. Let's see. After that, I targeted Katat and finishing that. And at first I wasn't sure what to think about the ending, because it wasn't anything I was expecting. But then when I thought about it, it was actually really quite an appropriate way to end the series. So overall, I guess that means that Katsunagatari was a very... I like to call it I've been considering calling it a vibrant anime. And I mean that more than just in the character designs and set designs and coloring and whatnot, but also in the dialogue and the storytelling and the setup and perhaps even the ending. I'm not entirely sure, because after a while there we get into uses of the word I'm just not used to, but overall it was a very pleasant experience throughout. Yeah, I guess I can't think of too much else to say without really spoiling it. So going on after that, let's see, when my brother was over, let's see, I don't need to talk about the Darius stuff. We rewatched, well, he watched for the first time Evangelion 2.22, and I rewatched it for the umpteenth time, and that was good as always. And then we moved on from that to the Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, and I've honestly not quite recovered from enjoying watching it. I'm really hoping that that doesn't somehow ruin the Trigun movie for me, since that might be setting unreasonable expectations for myself. But it was a really good watch, and I don't know how to say too much about it. I do, however, can say this much. If you've watched the first season of Haruhi Suzumiya and you're wondering if you can just skip the second season, which has a reputation, as you may or may not know, and you want to go straight to the movie, I suggest going through the second season. If you don't want to deal with Endless 8, the more controversial episodes of the second season, then you're probably just fine watching the first and the last episode of that, which may still feel like a bit much for you, but I think you want to get the ideas behind all three story arcs that are covered in the second season down before you watch the movie, because one of them is the most important of the ones, and the other two are referenced in it. So basically, Disappearance is definitely a building on top of the Haruhi universe sort of thing. Sort of like the second season ended up being, even though it wasn't immediately obvious how much of it was, I suppose. So even though the second season isn't particularly spectacular, I think you probably want to tackle some of that before watching Disappearance. At the same time, though, the stuff in the second season is, I think, explained in pretty good detail, which makes the first season a definitive must-watch before Disappearance. And it may be possible to get by without watching the second season, but it's better to not leave people guessing at things they shouldn't be guessing at. And I can't go into more details on that, but once again, Disappearance was awesome enough that I may actually consider trying to bump Haruhi onto my favorites. I'm not sure yet. Now, I also watched another movie, since I knocked down a lot of movies, and that was Pokemon movie 13. Zoro, the Master of Illusions. And it was okay. There wasn't anything about it that screamed out to me as a spectacular or particularly noteworthy Pokemon movie. A lot of it felt similar to the Giratina movie, without the important parts of the Giratina movie being a continuation of the previous movie and a prequel to the next movie. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Zora, I shouldn't try to say their names. Little black thingy kind of annoyed me, similar to Shyman. And I don't know. And, I say this, and there are a couple of the Pokemon movies that I actually really liked a lot. I'm still not quite sure if I like movie 2 or movie 9 more. Movie 2, which was released here as Pokemon 2000, there's some cheesiness to it, but at the same time, it kind of depicts events that are truly epic and meaningful. Almost like, I'm pretty sure more of y'all have probably watched the first movie than the second movie. The first movie is the one with Mewtwo in it. And if y'all know, that one's kind of got relevance because the world is in danger, but at the same time, that danger doesn't feel apparent, I suppose, since it's, I don't know, kind of the way it ends and the way, yeah, it's mostly the way that one ends that kind of reduces a whole lot of that. Whereas the second movie was slightly different in that regard. It's kind of hard to say exactly what I'm thinking there without spoiling either movie too much. And movie 9 is the Pokemon Ranger and Manaphy episode, and the basic idea there is Pokemon movies try to have some sort of combination or balance or work on a sliding scale of here's a cute legendary Pokemon and we're supposed to go aww, and here's a dangerous legendary Pokemon and we're supposed to go oh geez. And I guess, to put it simply, the second Pokemon movie did the best job, in my opinion, of dangerous legendary Pokemon, and the ninth movie did the best job, in my opinion, of the most the best cute Pokemon story, basically. And a lot of that is, many of the movies basically think throw a cute thing on the screen and we should immediately sympathize with it and find it cute. Maybe the average person sympathizes more with that than I do, but I don't really. And that seems to be what Mew is. This little dick that comes in places and likes to steal things and mess with things. Or, like Celebi, and he travels through time and they run into boys like, oh, don't worry, Celebi, we're your friends. Because I guess friends just means we're not going to hurt you and we're just going to suddenly decide that you are a good person that we have to really help. Which I guess is safe to assume in the case of Pokemon. But at the same time, it kind of feels unrealistic to me, I guess. And it's probably not as silly as Jirachi. who suddenly appears out of nowhere, and everybody just says, "Oh, Jirachi appears every blah 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 years and chooses somebody to become its friend and grants wishes." It's like, "Oh, Celebi or Jirachi, you are a Pokemon that's kind of like a little kid, so you can make friends with the little kid in the group, Max, for no explicable reason." See, it just kind of feels like they say the word friend without meaning it or anything like that, and I thought that the Manaphy movie really got around that. And the danger stuff, well, that one's kind of hard to explain as well without going into specific details of each movie, and that one gets more spoilerific because that is usually far more related to the overall story and what happens in the story as opposed to the cute Pokemon side. So, anyways, that's me babbling about Pokemon stuff. Pokemon movie 13. It doesn't come close to being one of my favorite Pokemon movies, but it wasn't necessarily bad. So, I probably just had my hopes up too high after Disappearance. And then I decided. Well, I had decided on before the weekend that I wanted to start watching Planet S, a series I had once started and never got very far into. And I can kind of see why, because the weakness of Planet S may be its strong point, or maybe not. I actually consider Planet S a strong point to be its attention to detail and realism in its science fiction. A lot of science fiction shows like to present science fiction in a more fictional sense. This would be like something like Star Trek, where it's like uh, we come up with an artificial physics that's maybe supposed to be an extension of what we come to understand, but these people are able to use it to do these seemingly impossible tasks, which isn't too much different from a system where these people have magic that allows them to do these seemingly impossible tasks, right? But they're still science fiction because they're kind of animagining. They're really still fiction, right? And Planet S kind of it takes itself a lot more seriously, where you kind of feel like these are people that are really dealing with space, even more so than a series like Freedom or Rocket Girls, which kind of treats space as this almost silly, trivial thing for people to do. Freedom, I think, is kind of worse in that regard than Rocket Girls, but Rocket Girls kind of still has its moments, whereas Planet S wants to take this space, the science part of science fiction, a lot more seriously and create an environment where you can believe, yeah, the future of mankind could end up something like that. Other than a little couple of details, but that's more economic stuff, and they're trying to. The entire point of Planet S is that there are economic reasons for mankind to start doing a lot of this stuff that they're doing. And so that's what I thought that was the main selling point of Planet S. Watching an entire series designed in that sort of setup, that was good. The secondary draw was actually kind of the meaning of the overall story, the kind of a worldly message they're trying to give, which is Planet S takes itself really seriously on the economic side as well, where naturally space exploration starts happening, and only the people who are richer are able to, or the people, the countries, the businesses that are richer are able to really invest in this stuff to get more money, and it creates a lot of conflict that's very closely related to this separation of economic classes thing, which I think is a pretty realistic reason that people go to war even now. That's I think probably cause of a lot of conflicts. And I'm not quite sure if people are supposed to also like character development in any way, because it didn't really feel like the characters really changed until the very end, per se. Well, they began. The reason I didn't continue watching it the very first time I did is, as usual, when I start watching something, especially then, if I really thought there was something else really awesome to watch, I could maybe say, I can always watch the next disc later. And the main the thing that turned me away from Planet S initially was pretty much the main two characters are chronic complainers, and that can get kind of grating. I think they get better pretty quick though. But it also made it hard for me to sympathize with them that first time. So maybe instead of watching 4 episodes, I had only watched 1 or 2 episodes. But I don't think that matters to y'all. I watched it all now, and the truth of the matter is, they're there, they get better, and then they get worse, and then they get better, and it ends at a place where, I guess they grew as characters. My only problem was that it kind of happened really suddenly, and it was also focusing on these other realities of, basically the setup of the world, the economic and space stuff that I was talking about. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just not the sort of thing I'm normally drawn into, but overall, I thought it was a pretty pleasant thing to watch. Just kind of hard to go down to that from Disappearance, since I really liked Disappearance. So, I guess the takeaway from this week's anime analysis is Giga Frosty really liked the Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. Alright, I've babbled on long enough. I'll end this video.